السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
All right, so we're continuing the discussion on Book of Creation, and the book that we're reading from is Seedbed of the Light. Today, we're going to be reading from the page number 14, I believe, the one that's printed out. And for those who are following on the book, it's 380. Right? How can the order, harmony, and regularity observed in creation be established?
That's a question.
Mm-hmm.
How can it be? Put your answers. The board start today. Huh?
Yeah.
How do we explain that the order can be established? I think it's easy for you.
I mean, I feel like it's a strange question because within the question itself, it's already saying that these things, order, harmony, and regularity, are observed. So I'm not sure what it means by be established. Is it saying if they're being observed by virtue of observation that establishes it, that there is order and regularity?
How can it be established? Can the order be established? That we see.
Okay.
Now, how can, accidentally?
I see.
Yeah. Or no establishment. It has always been like this, eternally. How do you think it can be explainable?
I'd say it requires multiple qualities in order to establish order, harmony, and regularity. Probably starting with knowledge first. Then, of course, I guess the power to bring order or control, I guess, the matter and the immaterial side of existence to exist in harmony. So if one was to put themselves in the center of this equation and say, okay, how can I establish order? The first thing that comes to my mind is I must know how everything operates, how it operates. This is excluding, is it made to operate in a particular way? So it's not operating with that assumption that everything is made to operate in a particular way, but rather, if matter had a choice, how do I, as an individual, establish order with it?
If matter had a choice, then there is no need to look for an establisher because it is a choice, it can do it for itself.
Well, that would take into account that all matter must kind of coexist in harmony.
The question is how?
Yeah, no, and it cannot if matter had choice. So therefore, you must first acknowledge that matter in and of itself does not have free will, I guess, or a choice. It is made to operate in a particular way. So
I understand that you're saying if matter has had a choice, every particle of the matter will act independently, and trillions of options will be in front of you, and
Harmony
the
would be
harmony
impossible.
order could not happen. So, by definition, matter should not have choice. Even you don't see no sign that it has anyways, but because of the order, because of the regularity in its existence, it demonstrates that they are not, they don't have the choice, they are not acting as they want, they are supporting or following something else.
Which then leads to I guess the questioning what, or yeah, pretty much what entity has that ability or must have that ability to control matter in that particular way in order to establish order, harmony, and regularity. So for me, like this question has more to do with what qualities are required to establish
Mhm.
order, harmony, and regularity.
Mhm.
And the thing is, in order to get to like that question, you must first kind of again start with negation of understanding matter, understanding the order, and once you start negating, then only can you come to the question like, okay, then what qualities does that entity have?
Negating, making sure that the matter itself cannot be the source of its own existence.
Mhm.
And matter itself cannot have any quality to choose or knowledge.
Yeah. So once we ask that question, which is like, what qualities are required to establish
Mhm.
order and harmony, I think then you can say, and I don't want to jump, but hopefully the ultimate conclusion ends up being something which has all knowledge of everything so that it can control
All of them.
everything. Yeah.
And
Or-
keep all of them under one encompassing will, encompassing knowledge, encompassing power. So everything obeys, so that one source can give the order.
Yeah.
Or put them in order.
Right.
So it is necessary.
Right. So knowledge is obviously one, but then I think that it cannot be just independent of, again, will and like sustainability of that order.
And ability may be the first, the most important thing, or the quality, ability to give existence.
Mhm.
I think we should never neglect ability to give existence. That is most important. So when we question whether matter has will, choice, before this, does it have the ability to give existence to anything, including itself?
When we say, does it have ability to give existence? But we don't know what non-existence is.
No, you don't have to know non-existence, because we know existence. So we are not arguing about non-existence. It means how they exist. How they exist. They exist. Now, this table exists as a table. How? Can exist as a table now, let alone it is particles, but as a table at this, but particles as well. How can exist? Can anything concerning the table exist? So you don't have to think or imagine non-existence, because it is pointless. Things exist. You see, that's what we are talking about existence. We are not talking about non-existence. And we are not saying also this term is, we discussed earlier on, not very logically consistent to say the things coming into existence out of nothing, non-existence. No, it is, it has its flaws in its logic, because we cannot imagine non-existence. So how can you say out of non-existence? So it is, I mean, practically people speak in this way. They mean that they didn't exist before. So now they exist. It means I have to explain their existence rather than non-existence, because I am observing and experiencing existence. So I have to talk about existence, not non-existence. So not only the existence of matter, also the matter is being in a harmony, in an order, in a regularity, in its renewal, continuous renewal. It is renewing, or the matter is renewing, or is renewed continuously in a regular way, not accidentally. All these qualities need to be given existence first. So what can be the source of this, the existence of these qualities? What can be? I mean, normal human being asks this question, looks for the answer. So when we ask this question, what can be? First, can itself be the source of its existence of regularity, order, and harmony between them? So we started the answer or argument saying that if they had choice, each of them individually should have it. So if individual particles or matter in general has a free will, they wouldn't be able to make an arrangement between themselves and submit themselves to others, trillions, countless number of other particles, so that they will establish an order. Yeah, without a commander, the simplest thing. Can ordinary army officers, not officers, sorry, army soldiers, privates, establish an order? Army-wise, they have somehow limited free will. Human beings have somehow limited free will. Because of their free will, I mean, everybody will say, no, I will have a
Sergeant.
a part, sorry?
Sergeant.
Sorry? I will have a group of soldiers here and others here. So some of them are just, how do you say, Navy, then Air Force.
I'm thinking I'll let you know when if it comes to me. The word that you're looking for.
Sorry?
It's skipping my mind too. There's a military term used for a group of individuals.
Yeah, but they have sections, subsections. So without an organizer outside of them and without their obedience to the organizer, they cannot establish the order. Because the human beings even have their limited free will. Because of this limited free will, they cannot really, limited means limited to be used in a limited area, not everywhere. But they cannot make it. So we understand that there must be something out of matter that organizes everything and keeps everything under his control and command, if you like, and arranges everything and keeps the harmony from one center. From one center. So the condition of being one and being not of the same nature of the matter makes us come to the conclusion that this organizer, creator, organizer, and which has enough power, capacity to keep everything under his control, as giving existence to them and keeping them under his control, and knowing what will happen in the future, so that the arrangement will be accordingly. That thing cannot be found within the matter by definition. It means not within the universe or the same kind as the universe. Cannot be. And also must have, looking at the universe, endless, limitless, we call it absolute qualities. Each quality must have absolute, must be absolute. That's very simple to me. Understand.
I'm struggling with the theoretical, I guess, argument, which is and not practical at all. So this point takes into account that this is what is observed, right? If we're not talking about what is actually the case in the universe and just theory in general for a second, if all matter was created to be all knowledgeable, all powerful, absolute, in theory, I think by definition you can't put infinite in infinite. But if it was created to be that way, can we say that order, harmony, and regularity could be established in theory?
Yeah. One thing it comes to my mind now, and I remember reading somewhere. If they were, each of them, they were able to have absolute knowledge, each of them. And no one would like to be subservient to others, because it has an absolute knowledge, absolute power, absolute will. So why should I obey you? Because I can manage with my own existence in an absolute scale. Why should I be dependent on you? You should be dependent on me. Willpower requires independence if it is absolute. That's why, by definition, the source of existence, which we call the creator, must have an absolute independence. Absolute independence. And everything is subject to it. It is not subject to anything. For example, if you carefully read the fine descriptions of, not fine descriptions, carefully the structure of the language of the Quran, it says it is absolutely independent and everything with no exception whatsoever subject to his authority, to his will, actually. Yeah. So his creatorship, his will, his desire, whatever, with no exception. The Quran always keeps reminding this. Maybe, I don't think it will be an exaggeration if I say 300 times. They don't know. They will say, it's up to me to decide. Ultimate decision in my hand. Hundreds of references you can find in the Quran. Why? It is very important to understand that there will be only one sovereign, not two. Independent, absolute, two sovereigns, what happens? Cannot be absolute conflict. Impossible, because and I'm self-sufficient. Why do I be subject to your will? Yeah, I'm self-sufficient. Why should I bother?
I don't know. Like, wouldn't all knowledgeable necessitate that you operate, that the matter would operate in, I guess, out of logic and reason, as opposed to out of, I don't know if ego is the right word in this instance, but independence.
And if someone is all knowledgeable, it must be independent by definition. All knowledgeable. It means nothing is limiting. So these, I would say just imagination, but no rational base.
Yeah.
This kind of argumentations. So the source of existence must be absolute. Source of existence must be absolutely independent, free, knowledgeable. That's why I'm not saying we are driving this conclusion from the Quran, but as the logic comes to this conclusion, so we can understand why Quran keeps saying that the end of existence is totally dependent on its creator, who's called God in the language of the Quran. He decides. Free. He doesn't say, sometimes he discloses to someone and share it. No. Absolutely. He decides to create. He decides not to create. So simple. He must be. The nature of the universe that we observe reveals this. But of course, we have to come to this conclusion by analyzing the reality of the universe and reaching the conclusion, and then Quranic statement confirms it. So yeah, this conclusion is true. That's what Quran is used, what? Not to be imitated, but to confirm my conclusion, whether it's true or not. If the Quran was the speech or the guidance of the creator of the universe, it must confirm my logical conclusions. So I can assure myself. And also, while it is confirming, it gives us the way how we should reach to this conclusion by various means and examples. Yeah. So it is confirmed. Our logical conclusions are concerned by the Quran. And it is, the speech of God is what? Just to reassure that you are thinking on the right way or not. By giving some help, in some cases, it provides some help. In some cases. For example, in the cases of the things that we cannot directly find observable evidence of resurrection. Yeah, examples of resurrection is different. But the Quran clearly mentions that the human beings will be raised back into existence again. Now, we don't observe this. That, even the Quran uses this language. That is raised again back into life, into existence. We haven't observed any example of it. Possibility, that it is possible the one who creates this universe may resurrect human beings because he is as the Quran explains itself, he is the one who gave the first existence from the beginning anyways. It wouldn't be difficult for the same one to give another existence because it has already demonstrated it, that he could do it, he did it. Okay, but we don't see, again, the human beings being resurrected in the observable world after death. So the Quran comes with help. How it is possible, logically understandable, by using the observable evidence in the observable world. By the way, I wonder this. Can you use the word evidence in a plural form? Evidences. Somebody says you can't.
It's plural.
Evidence is just
It is plural, it's singular.
the same.
I think
Somebody told me this, but I see in some literature writing evidences. But evidence must include everything, every tool.
I think in some more archaic
Which
texts,
one?
more archaic, they might do evidences,
Yeah.
but in its current usage, it's both singular and plural.
So you can say evidence means many instances of evidences. Many instances of evidence you can see, not says. No?
no, it's awkward.
So-
Instances of
Evidence.
just evidence.
That's it. What is your evidence? Not what are your evidences? That's not curiosity. I meant to ask this question to you because I'm confused. Some says this, some use it, some don't use it. So plural form. Okay. Now, give us how to reason about it. Simple example. Quran's evidence are all very simple, no complicated evidence it provides. For example, for the resurrection, it's so God, the creator of the universe, your creator, will grow you up from your grave. It means dead position, not necessarily. My body is not necessary. From after I die, it means as he, the creator of the universe, grows the plant from it is from the earth, from it is seed, for example. So the seed is the remnant of dead tree. Well, it may not be, maybe, may not be a tree. You get the fruit, get the seed, and kill the tree. That's it. But we know that the seed is alive, latent, potentially alive. So when the conditions are right, according to the order of the universe, they start growing, regeneration or germinating. That's how it is created in this world. The one who does it, why shouldn't he be able to do it for you as I promise through your senses? You desire eternity. That's why the description of hereafter, after being resurrected, all presented to us in terms of eternity. It was infinite. For example, infinite happiness, satisfaction. I'm sorry, I was waiting for someone for me. It is coming from abroad. Okay. Excuse me. Can you hold on? Yeah, Ahmed. Did you write? was waiting for it. So it is so simple, isn't it? The example. As it grows the plant, the Creator will grow you from your graves. Why grave? I mean, someone may not have any grave, doesn't matter. From your, how do you say, body, you are separated from it, your body will be recreated again. But the simplicity of the reasoning example should not surprise us, because everybody thinks that when a person dies, he is in the grave, generally speaking. Now, in the grave, so usually people argue how a rotten body can be risen again out from the grave. It is simplistic, the simplest way of reasoning. Really, as far as the reasoning and presentation of the Quran is concerned, it is unimaginably simple. But when you go into details, you have to really see the details in the structure of the not sentences. No, it is definitely so. But the words, even letters, which kind of letter is used in a word? Well, that is details. But normal, uneducated, not knowing any language, any details in grammar or morphology of the words, anybody can read and get the outline of the teaching of the Quran with no difficulty. The only problem that I can observe in the community who study the Quran is their previous understanding of religion. They want to read the Quran and expect that the Quran will confirm their previous understanding, which is inherited from the culture. And when there is a clash, which there are on many occasions, many different types of clashes between the cultural inheritance of understanding of religion and what the Quran straightforward in a simplest way teaches. When there is a clash, people don't say that my culture was wrong. They say my culture was right, but my understanding from the Quran is not right. Do you understand this problem? It's a simple problem. But unfortunately, most of the people may not be aware of this case. We have to be. We have to be aware of this case. Okay. Anything?
Sorry, quick question. But in that scenario, when, and how does a person know when it's their culture that's coloring their view of what they're reading versus?
Well, unless you think about it, whether it is rationally confirmable, approvable, acceptable. But of course, we are not talking about practical matters. How to do, for example, rituals. That is a side. We never touch upon the rituals side of it. There are many experts on it, and we are going to the foundation, belief. So which kind of belief we have inherited from the culture, especially why it is very descriptive as far as the belief we inherit from the culture. It is related to hereafter, physical description of hereafter, life in the hereafter, physical description of resurrection. We get there, etc. And God takes everyone into account. But these are figurative teachings of the Quran. You have to take them. I am personally responsible for my life. Rather than all people will be gathered in a field. But where is the field? There will be a new field. And we cannot imagine any field that we are experiencing in this world, because this world will be completely discarded. So that a new creation is taking place. We don't know even how many dimensions this new creation will have. We don't know. So what we have to do, we shouldn't transfer our imaginary understandings of the figurative teachings of the Quran into a new type of creation. That's the main problem, describing the hell in the form of fire, describing the paradise in the form of a garden here, or a castle house underneath water flows. These are all figurative speech, which means you will enjoy it as you want. That is also whatever you wish, what you feel that you are pleased, it will be given to you. Ishtaha is called. Whatever you seek for your pleasure, you will have. What is it? I don't know, in the new creation. So descriptions takes place in the teachings of the Quran in a figurative way. Of course, the figurative way of speech should be in terms of what I observe. So liken it. Remember from this, so that you can transfer this understanding into an unimaginable world existing. Do you understand? So, for example, another description of the Quran about angels, culture reveals to us or brings to us an understanding of angel which is mostly personified. Because in the teachings of the Quran, it is described in a figurative way that we are accustomed with. That is one of the main problems. We are accustomed with, for example, we used actually the example of army. Yeah. How the army is arranged. Harmony is established. Yeah, order is really firmly established in the army structure. But we cannot say that God's relationship with the particles, matter, is like a commander's relationship with the soldiers. Impossible. But logically you use it, that army needs one authority, if you like, to distribute the authorities to subdivisions, sub-authorities, so that his power is expanded to the army-wide range. This is just an allegory. One center, it means one center must have the final decision. So you can use it for the existence of the universe. One authority must hold the final decision, not two. This is just an example, speaking in a figurative way. But it doesn't mean that God is the commander-in-chief of the universe and the particles are his soldiers. So when the Quran describes angels, of course it describes angels in terms of what we practically, physically experience in this world, but it is like this, not exactly the same. So if you don't realize, if someone doesn't realize that angels are creatures cannot be likened to any physical body of this or the part of this universe, this existence. So what he will say, he will get the abstract idea obeying completely with no rejection at all, with no other option but just obeying, that is what we have to learn. Angel means something cannot, by its creation, nature, disobey the Creator. Yeah? Like, for example, nothing to do with personified figures at all. But Quran speaks in third personified figures. The army, Junudullah, for example, Junudu Samawati wal Ard, for example, the army of the earth and the heavens, the Quran says, uses the word Junud, army, armies. You cannot say like this army that I'm experiencing here, because angel is not a being which is of the nature of this physical world. We very frequently refer to, for example, a book and its meaning. Now, a book is a piece of this universe. Meaning, we cannot liken the meaning to any physical being. That the nature of angels is described by the Quran in this way. You cannot liken it to any physical being. So all our inherited imaginations of angel, when the Quran speaks it in a figurative way, we say, yeah, exactly. There are many armies in the heavens ready to protect Allah's word, for example, the Quran. So if a Satan comes to steal it, it is just a way of telling it. That Satan, who's Satan? So that he will go and challenge Allah's power, and Allah will say, look, go and deal with this person, chase away. It is impossible to bring this example as a real physical existence in terms of this world. So we have to study, we have to think, what is figurative teaching, allegoric teaching, metaphoric teaching, illustrative teaching, whatever, depends on the subject, and how can I relate it to the reality? We should never forget that non-physical world cannot be likened to physical world, first. And a new type of creation cannot be liked to any physical, this universe. We have to know that. So we have to use negation. Yes, everything obeys. For example, you have a book in your hand, right? Okay. Does the book obey you? You take it this way. Tear it off. Can you? Yeah. You can burn it. Yeah. So you can scratch on it. Everything you can do. Can you do anything to meaning of the sentences there? Whatever is there, but you can understand partially, doesn't matter. But you cannot really infringe, if you like. Is it the right word? Infringe into the structure of meaning. Meaning is completely non-physical. But can you deny the meaning that you extract from the book when you read it? There is meaning. The meaning directly comes from the author and never disobeys it. For example, author writes a sentence with a meaning, right? Meaning says, I'm not going to carry the meaning you meant. I will do something else. Can a meaning disobey the author? By definition, like angels. But you can treat the book, but you cannot treat I mean, in a different way than what the meaning is. Even meaning is, in our terms, abstract. Can you deny the reality of their existence? No. So we cannot liken angels to anything of this physical world. But we cannot deny their existence, necessary existence. For example, that the culture comes with a baggage of physical description of. You have to make the distinction, and we have to think about it and work on it. Unfortunately, even those people make, you're right, commentaries, not all of them, but majority of them, on the physical description of this non-physical existent beings, they really and explain it in physical terms. Unfortunately, they say Satan goes up to the seventh heaven or whatever heaven to steal the knowledge of God from the Quran. The Quran is preserved. What are you doing? Are you really reading Greek mythology? It's ridiculous. These are just examples. So we understand the non-physical existence of things without giving a physical examples, so that we can make analogy. Yeah, we can make analogy. The best analogy I feel, I hear, I read, and it is very real. For example, sunlight and the mirror and the reflection of the sunlight in the mirror. This is just an analogy, right? What can we learn from it? Very simple. Sunlight has its own source, but when the light reflects from the mirror is not the source of the sunlight that reflected in it. Does it make sense? Did you understand? Really? If not, I can repeat it. So you understood. Okay. What does it mean? The relationship between the created world and the creator is exactly in the same way, not in the physical terms, but logical terms. Logical means the universe exists, but it is existence not from itself, but from another source. But we see the qualities of the source reflected in the universe, because we use the analogy now. So, can the universe be its own source of existence? Go back to the mirror sunlight analogy. No, because we are experiencing sunlight is reflected in the mirror, although I can see the sunlight coming from the mirror, but I know that this light, the source of this light, is not the mirror. Simple, eh? But this analogy must be transformed. First, get the logical reasoning or sequence of reasoning in it and reject the material side of example. Material side, because there is no sun there. There is no mirror here. As we apply it to the universe, to explain the existence of the universe, there is no mirror, then some qualities are reflecting them. Because the universe itself, the reflection. Now, the example, the analogy changed. But logic is still the same. Because these examples which are given in the Quran, in order to give or provide you with a logical way of thinking what reality is. Afterwards, you cannot apply it the same again. For example, in the description of hell, it is so burning, very fearful, severe, unbearable. Okay, because it is burning. You say, if I'm burned here, burnt. If I burnt here, I'm done. No, it is the pain, description of pain. No one says that I am very happy because I am burning in physical terms. No one says it. So it is the description of something that human beings cannot bear. But in the new creation, we have no clue which kind of condition of creation will be that burning, will be represented there, something that human beings cannot bear. So it is a real, if you like, torture or pain for human beings. So if you have this kind of understanding of hereafter from the culture and bring it into the Quran, when you read the Quran, you cannot benefit from it. But the Quran doesn't mean that. Its example doesn't mean exactly the same thing, talking about absolute, talking about non-physical existence, cannot be the same as physical existence.
So can I ask, so how about the cultural idea of all your good deeds will be on one side and all your bad deeds will be on the other side, and then like whichever one is higher and weighs more is with the side which way you go. How would one think of that figuratively?
You think about it. You think about it. You think about it here. It's an example. It means your good deeds, your bad deeds, it means your really belief or not, a lack of belief. Yeah, and acting accordingly. Human beings are not expected to be perfect. The Quran says, I'm not expecting to be perfect. At least your awareness of the reality of this existence and your relationship with me must make up the majority of your life. Yeah, more than 50%. Most of the time we forget. Yes, correct, we forget. Must make up for the majority of your life. So try to educate yourself, train yourself to be more conscious of your createdness, therefore your creator and relationship between you and your creator, and keep it awake, so that you can have more aware of your reality than missing points. It means negligence, ignorance, not really paying attention to it. Nothing to do with the, as we call it, balance here. I mean, how do you say? Scale, yeah, here in the physical terms. So that your good deeds will be put here, your bad deeds, where are they? It is already destroyed anyways. Well, you cannot really think about it in terms of physical example, physical being. So God's knowledge knows, and God also, in the Quran, it is also repeated that God never ignores any single point in your intention, in your heart, in your physical action. It means his knowledge is all-encompassing. Forgetfulness never interfere into his knowledge. So absolute means this. Nothing can miss out of it. So we have to, it needs a little bit attention, but okay. we are not talking about the people's position here. We are talking about our position. Can we think about it? Can we really realize that these examples cannot be taken physically and literally as it is described in the Quran? They are just examples in the Quranic language, mathal and thal. Just an example from physical world. So that you can take the example from the physical world as a result of your real experience with the physical world and take it into the abstract notion, apply it. So culture mostly remains within the physical world as it is described in the form of examples in the Quran. You got it? So we have to extract it from this physical form into the abstract form. It means what you really understand and concrete. Your turn.
So I understand angels as the as meanings, the angelic side of creation.
Meaning side of the being.
Meaning side is I get it, and I understand that they do not have free will, but I am confused about them as conscious beings.
Yeah.
I understand there's no free will. The descriptions of, and I understand them as messengers delivering meaning, no free will. But conscious beings, I can't.
No,
really understand.
messenger deliver meaning with no.
Free will.
Why?
No.
Why?
Why?
How do you come to this conclusion? Why no free will? He's a human being. He has a free will.
I'm speaking of angels.
Ah, I understood messengers. Do you say angels? I'm sorry, it was my mistake.
I used the word messenger to describe the angel delivering meaning without free will. I did use the word messenger.
So messenger for angels, not the prophets.
Correct.
Correct. Well, all right, you are right then. I misunderstood.
But I don't understand, it's hard for me to understand that they are conscious beings. That part, I can't.
Yeah,
see
okay.
the conflict in the
So-
two.
Describe the consciousness. No, most probably what we do, most of the time, in most of the cases, we do consciousness in terms of human consciousness. Now, consciousness means self-awareness. Now, do you think my favorite animal is either squirrel or cat? I don't know another. No, pigeons also. Do you think pigeons are self-conscious? Do you know what they are doing?
I don't know.
No, not conscious. For example, if you try to catch them, what do? It means they are aware. They have
Okay.
free will and self-consciousness. But can you liken the consciousness of pigeons to human consciousness? Completely different. But essence is what? For example, I have body. Yeah. Oh, the book example, never ever forget this example. Use 1,000,000 times in your life, this example, book example. Paper example is compared to meaning. Now, paper is different from the meaning of the sentence written in the book. Now, it is written, maybe spoken. It means in
Audible.
vocal waves. Voice waves, not voice.
Sound waves.
Sorry, what waves? Sound waves. Thank you. Yeah, sound waves. Now, but until sound waves hit your ear, I would say, drum of wheel,
Eardrum.
eardrum. Okay. Hits eardrum and it hits the nerves. And nerves carries the vibration to the nerves of the brain, and in the nerves of the brain, these vibrations that I'm speaking now, making vibrations. For example, if I speak, it's so amazing. Now, if I speak a bit loud, right? The next door room, can they hear me? Yeah, possible if I speak. So if they play music, for example, in one room loud, then you can hear here. So where is the air waves coming through the wall? You see, when I say, look at the precise, delicate order. When I say, oh, the wall makes vibrations. Whoa. I can shake the walls while I said, oh, for example. But fine. But if you want to shake the wall with your hand, yes, you can hit it, but what we understand from it, it is very hard, for example, to knock the wall down. But your voice frequency of the wave hits it, and this frequency is transferred to the other room's air. And from there, so wonderful, isn't it? I mean, you can just say, God is great. The Creator is great, nothing else. So it is, everything is so precisely and finely arranged, tuned to the order. Now, I understand your what you mean, your meaning. Okay, I don't know where it is. They say brain, but it doesn't matter. It is a physical description of it again. Brain is not knowledge, is it? Brain is not intention. It is meat at the end of the day. So, but it is used as a tool, transformer. So your consciousness gets it from the vibrations of the brain or the transmissions of the brain cells, what synapse do they call it? Between the cells, synapse. So, so your consciousness gets the vibration and deciphers it and gets the meaning. This is, for example, meaning is absolutely obedient to your decision. I should mean this. My perception of it is different, but meaning never disobeys you. Never. Cannot have free will by themselves so that they will choose this way or rather than that way. No, they totally obey the order. Any wave sounds, sound waves, sorry, any sound waves, can they act as they want at all? But the meaning is itself. Meaning itself is a conscious entity, because it is what is consciousness? Being aware and having knowledge. Yeah, something, you are knowing something. Meaning in itself, not because he gains the knowledge, he gains the consciousness, but it's a conscious entity itself. Itself.
Sorry, how are you confirming consciousness of anything
Here
else?
it is the proof. Okay.
Like, how? I mean, I understand that you can confirm the existence of a meaning, but how are you proving the consciousness
Meaning.
in the meaning?
Meaning itself must be not in the meaning. Meaning itself is consciousness. For example, your spirit itself must be consciousness. Conscious. Now, I mean, there is not in this world, there is no matter like a book and meaning loaded in it. In the universe, what is? Be careful. There is no book and no inscription of written on it. But this is an example. Book and inscribed figures on it. This is just an example. So in the universe, there is no book and no inscribed meaning in it. What do we see in the universe? Nothing but meaning. That's what the Quran also says. Nothing but meaning. Everything completely obeys and discloses the Creator's qualities. You see nothing in the universe but the manifested form of meaning. Meaning itself is consciousness. That's what the universe is, a conscious being. Especially, serious scholars say universe is a conscious being. So can you say that your physical side, put it aside, okay? Or physical side aside. So your human quality is nothing. What is? Not physical being. It's a conscious being. I mean, I'm not saying your body is not conscious, but to make the distinction, for example, can you say, I have something rather than your physical side, and some knowledge is bordered on it, put on it. There's nothing in the universe which is not itself is consciousness. So Quran says everything in the universe glorifies God, and angels are described, those beings, whatever they are, doesn't do nothing but glorifies God. It means announces the qualities of God. Universe is nothing but the announcement of the Creator. But we see it in the form of physical being. But this analogy, book analogy, physical body and the meaning inscribed on it. The universe, there is no physical body and no meaning in it. But don't you see the meaning in the existence of everything? Study and you can write volumes of books on one atom. What are you writing? The qualities that you see in it. So, example again. Physical example, mirror reflecting the sunlight, right? But in the universe, there is no mirror and no mirror, so that from it, sunlight is reflected. There is no mirror. What is reflected is nothing but reflection of the sunlight in the universe. Use the example. Do you understand? That's why some people from there went to, and we will come to this point with the last sentence that we will read here in this text, and the whole text says with the last sentence about this. Some people who are called for the atheist side or the materialist side, pantheists, for the believers side, unity of being, wahdatul wujud, unity of being. So some people went to the extent that universe doesn't exist. No, universe exists as a reflected sunlight without mirror. Is there any example of it that we can experience in the physical world? No. But the universe itself, the example of it. We have to understand this matter so that, for example, again, forget about your physical side, body side, as you are as a human being, nothing but consciousness. But I'm not saying that your body is not. No, to make the analogy first, you are different from your human side. Your physical body is nothing to do with your human side. So you can see it. But even you study your physical side, body form, you can see that there is no physical being there, externally existent, and a meaning is reflecting in this or through this externally existing being. There's nothing in the universe like this. So you can see everything as angels, glorifying the qualities of the Creator. Yeah? Not that you will get married with a wife or husband and say that my husband is like an angel. You will say, not like, he's an angel in his existence. In his intention, is questionable. How he manifests it with his free will is very much questionable. Be careful. In its existence, everything. That is a serious subject, but how it is related to our subject now is, Taylor asked, we should not personify anything abstract as it is described in the Quran in personified forms. They are just analogies to be understood, to understand the logic in this analogy and forget about the material side of the example. Get the analogy now. Reflection cannot be the origin. The mirror and the sunlight reflection, for example, how did we understand from it? Reflection cannot be the origin. But reflection cannot be independent of the origin either. Otherwise, it wouldn't be reflection. Reflecting the origin, the qualities of the origin. Nothing to do with physical example of mirror. But we use the physical example of the mirror just to make it available for us to understand what the logic is behind this teaching of the, especially scriptures. So we very frequently mention here in our class only, not in the mosques, none of the scriptures can be read without interpretation with literal meaning, which is just physical examples, literal meaning. But we have to take the logic out of it. After learning the logic, leave aside the physical description of it. What is the logic of this mirror and sunlight? Reflections cannot be the origin. The universe is nothing but reflections, cannot be the origin of its existence. Do you get it? So simple. So simple. But also, it is very simple to confuse if we are not careful and understand the nature of scripture or scriptural language. Scriptural language must be figurative. So definitely everything in the Quran must be interpreted. Everything in the Quran. So don't take, with some people say there are some mutashabihat, some esasat. These are something else. Not related to our subject. Open-ended mutashabihat means you can interpret this way or this way, but you should follow the main principles of the Quran, not to misinterpret it. It is possible that you can misinterpret it, right? So be careful about it. Okay. Well, it has many other implications, of course, but we are keeping the mainstream of thinking. How can we make logically consistent what we are doing here. That's why we understand that although, for example, we are reflected beings, reflected, right? Understood now. Reflected means what? Not the origin in our existence. Reflected beings. But reflecting what the origin is. So we are all witnessing God in our existence, in any sense. You can look at either somebody else or yourself and say, who am I? You are the reflection of the qualities of your creator, yours or mine. Sorry?
Yours.
This guy is coming from far away and is not familiar with life in New York. And I asked him, let me say, if you don't mind, no, not this guy. Forget about it. So we have to refresh our minds and free ourselves from cultural background. Otherwise, we cannot grasp what the Quran is teaching. Really. Okay. Shall we move on? Anymore? It's a very complicated subject, but we have to talk. Maybe repeat it. We have to talk in a repeated way. Repeatedly. Why? We need to remember because, how can I say? If you are living in a carbon monoxides or dioxides, whatever, something poisonous, yeah? Atmosphere. So if you know only one source which has oxygen, hydrogen, oxygen, yeah? But you are swinging in the carbon monoxide. You need to be reminded that, look, you need oxygen, go this way. You need oxygen, go this way. Otherwise, we just lose ourselves in the flood of the civilization or culture. That's why we need to be reminded continuously, like following the GPS. For example, you say, I want to go there. Okay, I'll tell you how to go there. At every corner, on every traffic conditions, GPS keeps reminding you. Turn right, turn left, stop. There is a traffic jam. Further ahead. So change the direction. Yeah. For example, there is a danger on the way. There is a police waiting there. So a red light, the trap waiting. So be careful not to speed. You don't want to get the ticket, etc., etc. Do you get annoyed that the GPS keeps reminding you at every turning point or occasion? Every occasion that no, you are grateful. So that's what the Quran does. That's what we have to do in our classes. Keep reminding. Turn right, turn left. Someone may come here and say that, why did you listen to this GPS, whatever, machine? It keeps telling you turn right, turn left, turn right, turn left. Nothing else but turn right, turn left. That's why we keep saying here, La ilaha illallah. There is no creator but the only one. There is no creator but the only one. Every class. I think we need it. At every turning point. Reminded, at least refresh our minds twice a week. At least. Okay. I think we can get it. Okay. Sorry? But don't worry. I'm pleased. Usually I'm not using the name, that's why I don't feel offended. She recaps and then expands, maybe put a small question. We benefit from the recap and explanations and ignore the question, not the difficult. Okay.
Okay, so I understand how the universe is meaning insofar as everything within the universe in its nature is in its createdness, it looks to the creator. So,
Reflects the qualities of the creator.
like the example of
Yeah, it is reflection, which is a reflection of the qualities. Yeah, universe is nothing but reflection.
I'm still having a little bit of trouble understanding the relationship between meaning and conscience or consciousness.
Yeah,
Rather.
meaning itself must be conscious by definition. Yeah, I understand that. While we were discussing about it, I say this may cause some trouble. So meaning itself is consciousness because aware of what you are doing, what is going on. For example, again, the false example is the false example. What example? The book. So, paper is not aware of the meaning that the sentences carry, right? But when you read it, you get the meaning and you become aware of what the author meant. Isn't that consciousness? You are aware of his knowledge as much as you can. I mean, we are not speaking about the scope of the knowledge that the author transferred it, but as much as you get it only from what the meaning the author meant in writing the sentence. So it's a comparison between the paper, and the meaning of the sentence. Now, since in the universe there is no paper and some inscriptions on it, do you find any paper? There is no mirror, some reflections on it, independent from the reflection. So what is that? It is nothing but reflection. So, but this analogy is be taken only for what? Consciousness means the meaning itself. So the universe itself is nothing but consists of angels. So when you are aware that it is a reflection, it means you are only seeing the angelic reflections of what the creator reflected in it. We can call it what the creator meant to be in the existence of the universe. Qualities are there, manifested. Nothing but, is there anything in the universe which is independent of the creator's will, knowledge, qualities? What does it mean? The consciousness of the creator, if the creator must be conscious being, what is reflected must be conscious as well. Because a consciousness cannot be reflected in a non-conscious way. Consciousness reflects that. For example, he is conscious of his power manifesting. The creator must be conscious of his will, conscious of his knowledge, conscious of his mercy, conscious of his purpose, conscious of his wisdom, conscious of his arrangement, order, form giving, the conscious being. So what is reflected of the conscious must be reflected conscious. That is logical. So we have to say angels are not separated from not as it appears to be, but the reality of the universe. I think we studied this in another circle in detail, but it is, I understood that it is, I mean, I got it from Nursi, the guy who writes this book. So but it is really consistent, but even in his writing, you have to be very careful to understand, because it goes against our cultural baggages. So it clashes. We think that there is a universal physical body, and there are some angels over there flying over here and there. There's no such thing. in the description of the Quran. If you really see, define, God and angels came down on earth. When God and angels come down in rows, it means in order. God reveals his qualities, and it is reflected as the universe, in the form of this universe. And you see the God coming down to earth. You know, this verse, I don't know. But,
Reflected consciousness is consciousness?
yeah.
Is what you're saying?
Yeah, reflected knowledge is knowledge. So let's say I wrote a book, okay? My knowledge is reflected in the inscription of the book. When you read the book, what do you read? Nothing but my reflection of knowledge. You don't read anything else. So we have to be comfortable. We have to be comfortable that when whatever happens and created, it means, or whatever exists in this universe is nothing but reflections of the qualities of its maker. So we have to be comfortable about this, although it goes against culture, cultural understanding of creation, Allah, yeah, and the universe, even the language the Sufi tradition uses, universe is nothing but, they don't say universe, nothing. God's qualities are manifesting in the universe. So you can get to imagine as if there is a paper, God's qualities are manifesting on it. There is a mirror, God's qualities are manifesting on it. When you further reflect on what they are really, or meaning, what they really mean, you understand that universe is nothing but reflections of its qualities of its creator. To me, it's beautiful because whole universe becomes angel. You are not alone. You are with the angel. You can communicate with them. Is there anything in the universe which doesn't communicate with you? But in the book, let's put it this way, yeah. In the book, there's meaning. But if I don't open it, I see it paper. I have to open and read it. So if I don't open it, it means if I see the universe in its physical form, no meaning, I don't see an angel. Neither do I see God's relationship with the creation. So simple. So I say universe is an independent existence. Independent existence, God an independent existence. Without realizing, we fall into this terrible mistake. God is must be an independent source of existence, so everything else must be dependent on Him, on the Creator. That's how we build up our God concept. Yeah, everything which has nothing but meanings. So these meanings are nothing but reflecting one source with different qualities manifested in it. And all the qualities we observe in the universe is or are nothing but the qualities of the source or their source reflected in it. There is no independent existent universe. But it is difficult to tell this to those people who don't really think. Difficult to tell this. Because they say, oh, universe is God. What do you mean? The reflection is not the sun. But the sunlight's reflection is not the sun. But this reflection cannot happen or come into existence without the sun reflecting in it. Simple? Is it difficult? But it may be hard to digest because it needs something to be, how do you say? Oh. Opposite of knowing, what is it? Unlearning. Unlearning. Unlearning is always, everybody says unlearning is always difficult. Difficult. More difficult than learning. Unlearning is very difficult. So we have to repeat. Oh, okay. Let's go one step ahead. The T, sign, time.
12:35.
Oh. Let's see one word, one more sentence. If it is these are summary of it, so expected to be dense.
The Quran is like an enormous fruit-laden tree with two great branches, one in this world and the other in the unseen.
Two branches, fruit laden. Okay, that is just a description. So it is a tree, two branches from the same source. One is in this world, two branches comes from the same trunk. Yeah, one is in this world as the universe. The other one is, the other branch is, the other side in the unseen means source of it. Source cannot be found in reflection. Yeah, but reflection witnesses that I have a source. So we have to understand the reflection is not the same exactly with its source. Yeah, but reflection witnesses the necessary existence of its source. If you see any reflection, you say, for example, if you hear a noise, okay, you say, I heard the noise. What is the source of it? Where did it come from? Who made this noise? You ask for an agent. So simple. So we should ask an agent of the source of the qualities here. Quran is like this. One side is talking about the universe. The other side is disclosing how we should comprehend the source of the existence of the universe. So if we had much time, I would ask this question: how can you reconcile this two branch and follow them, come to the same trunk? So what the Quran describes, it is source of existence. Be careful, it's not difficult. Now, it is source of existence, describes, which is called in the language of the Quran, what? Unseen. It means, we don't use unseen, this is the translation, ghaib. Ghaib means absolute. It is absolute source. Like we studied on Mondays. Ghaib means absolute. Ahad means absolute. Yeah? So if you recall all these discussions there, so one side points to the absolute source. The other side describes the absolute source in terms of manifested qualities of the source. Manifested qualities. Now, origin and manifested or reflection of the qualities of the origin is combined in the Quran. That's why all the examples in the Quran are given from manifest world to human beings in order to be deduced what these manifest world refers to, which is the origin. That's why Quran must be interpreted. Definitely everything needs to be interpreted. You cannot read any scripture in literature in literal sense. Although people say no, the interpretation is, or they are literalist people. They take some words of the Quran in literally. Really, they don't really think about belief matters at all. They are made about fiqh matters, so that They don't want the fiqh matters to be interpreted arbitrarily, saying that, oh, zakat is purification, so I will purify my spirit. I am not going to give any property away. They are afraid of this. It is not our concern. Yeah? Because it is not our subject. That's why we don't spend time on it. But otherwise, what the Quran says, okay, sorry, yeah. Ahmed. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, did we get it? That is why Quran must be treated as the source which explains the absolute by giving examples in terms of reflected universe. So always, all the examples need to be interpreted and turn it into absolute form. Refer it to the absolute form. Very simple. If you read the Quran with in mind, all the prophetic examples, all the previous tribes, what happened to them, even the prophet's life, Badr war and Uhud war, trench war, all those examples physically happened in this world should never be taken literally. There was a friend who asked this question, physically describing what happened in Badr. Physically describing. Yeah? So, okay, I think we are not mentioning the names, so gender is not important. She meant, how can we say that this is not really what the Quran really means, talking about better conditions? How can we say that? It is impossible to reduce it to better conditions for an absolute knowledge, absolute message. Impossible. Got it? So we have to understand that this is just an example in one of the branches of the tree in this world, but referring to the qualities of the absolute being, so that I will understand which kind of creator I have. What is the source of my existence? Nothing to do with better conditions. What is the source of which kind of qualities my source of existence has? Yeah, they're so simple. It is inevitable not to read the scripture with this in mind. Otherwise, Quran describing this physical world as we see it as a physical world and telling me what happened. None of my business. I don't know. Which is not related to me. I'm not in Badr at all. Well, it becomes, the book itself becomes totally irrelevant, and it cannot be the speech of the absolute creator. Cannot be, because it's just talking about a specific event. Telling me like an historian, telling me what happened during Badr. None of my business. I'm not interested in history. What shall I do with learning what happened in Badr? But it's so simple, but unfortunately, the whole culture is based on this, with a very small exemption. Yeah, very small. Now, this is last, okay? I think we are done with the sentence. So we roughly covered it, and, in a very thick borderline. Borderline or broad line? No.
Borderline.
So borderline, yeah, very thick. So not fine, okay?
This is more of a comment / question. There seems to be a parallel between how I am to approach the text of the Quran, in that I must interpret it I must not take it literally, and how within my approach to the physical universe, it's not just not having this dichotomy with the physical aspect being here and then the meaning aspect being here, because I feel like
There is no physical aspect
Right.
anyway.
the moment I make this distinction, it's like me interpreting the Quran as this is the historical, or just literally, okay, flying angels, or
Exactly. So as you started, I said, nah, this friend is going to this direction, and it was exactly what I expected. Yeah, it was absolutely true. So I agree with you. Otherwise, nothing makes sense. Neither universe makes sense, nor Quran or any this scripture makes sense. That is why the criticism of the scriptures all comes from not really reading the scriptures as scriptures. They read the scriptures as Moses is writing, Jesus is writing, Muhammad is writing, human beings writing. So human beings can only tell what happened in his lifetime. I'm not interested in Muhammad's experience in his lifetime, whoever he is, as a person. None of my business. But as a messenger, revealing the absolute creator's qualities to me, yeah, I am very much interested in it. So I have to see the side of the narration, aspect of the narration, which points to the absolute source. Necessarily, if you are reading scripture. Otherwise, you are not reading scripture. You are reading a product or authorship of an ordinary man. No in between. Cannot be. These are important things. Methodology is important. I don't know whether you see it important or not. Do you? So if you don't notice this, you just follow your tradition without realizing what you are doing. Really, and saying that I am a Muslim, I am a follower of a religion. It's not a religion, really. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. Amen. Thank you. Inshallah. See you next Monday.